I will go ahead and get started. This is the live training. We're talking about how stress is sabotaging your weight loss and what to do about it. So, I have a Facebook group that I am the admin of. It's called Thrive Beyond Burnout, but it's weight loss and stress solutions for busy women. And just to frame it, that's what I talk about a lot. I talk about weight loss. Most people that I work with, most of my clients want to lose weight or at least maintain weight so they're not continually gaining, and they want to be their healthiest version of themselves, but they're busy, they're working, they're stressed, maybe they're moms, they have a lot going on. And so, with that context, weight loss can be really hard. And I haven't talked about this as far as being a concise single training. And so I thought it was a good time to do it. So 1st of July, getting started right in the middle of summer on the right foot and being able to walk away with some really actionable steps, like 5 strategies you could really put in place right now. But then you're going to get a lot of, uh, there's a couple bonuses. You're going to get just a lot of information as well of like why you are experiencing this, and that might help you more personally as well. So let's jump in. Before I do this, I should give you the context. I used to be a high school teacher and I taught over COVID over Zoom. And what I know to be true is that when you have your computer up, or maybe you're watching this on a phone, I know it's really distracting and there's like 10,000 other things you could be doing right now. But I do ask that you focus, and I do ask that you could maybe put the other devices away or the other tabs or whatever else you're working on. Try and give this your focus. It's honestly, it's only about 20-25 minutes, and you'll get a lot more out of it. It'll be much more worth your time if you do focus. So putting that little reminder in here for you. I will start with a little introduction. My name's Megan. I know it says that on my like handle right there, but if you didn't know me, I'm the admin of the Thrive Bound Burnout Facebook group. I have a program called the Breakthrough Burnout Method. I'm actually certified as an integrative health practitioner. I'm a level 2. All of those fancy names and things, basically, that's trying to say, I'm here to serve you. I'm here to help you reduce your stress, be more healthy, really turn into that next best version of yourself. And I am certified to do this. And I should put it like my other degrees down here, but I have a master's in molecular biology. I almost got a doctorate in it, but I switched gears and became a high school teacher instead. Went through burnout there. Ended up opening a juice bar. And so we actually sold that juice bar fairly recently. And I moved away from brick and mortar. And over the past few years, I've been moving more and more online. And so now I'm working online so I can work, like I was seeing in the chat, with people literally all over the country, somewhere all the way from, um, all over the world. I have someone that I'm working with right now in Canada. Like it's really cool to be able to help people more than just beyond our little town. I live in Maryland, if you didn't hear that part already. I'm also a mom. I have 2 kids right now. They are 5.5 and 7. This is my husband, Brett, in the picture. We have gone through many iterations, and during those different versions of ourselves, whether we were in different careers, we have always struggled with the work-life balance, with feeling like we had enough time for our health. I'll talk to you about that a little bit briefly. Today's really about you. It's not about me, but I think it helps for you to understand who I am and what context I'm coming from with. So I'll show you a couple pictures. I like to speak in pictures and words, like having a good mix here, but showing you pictures. This is actually, you can tell it's a while ago. These are my kids, but I'm wearing glasses. So this is 2022. This was our last first day of school. We were all going to school. So my kids were going to school. This was my son's, like, he was in daycare. My daughter was going to, I don't know if it was kindergarten the first time or the first year of kindergarten. My husband was teaching. I was teaching. It was our first day of school picture that we were taking. And ultimately, we left teaching, both my husband and I, and we have since then we've sold our juice bar. We've had several different iterations, and without going into necessarily the why, both of those were very stressful scenarios. And ultimately, we were very burned out in both of them. It was affecting our health, it was affecting our marriage, it was affecting our kids, it was affecting every single thing in our life. And so, your takeaway from my stories is that all success is predicated on you making a decision. I'm not saying to quit your job. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying if you're here and you're feeling that stress, something has to shift because otherwise, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And so that's a big takeaway for you. So maybe making some intentional shifts to help move you forward. So, oh gosh, I hate this picture of me. Like that was several years before where I am now. Um, I have tried in the past, I tried lots and lots of things. I got to my heaviest weight. I was at 148 pounds and I'm 5'0". So like for me, that was a lot. I got down to about 118 and now I'm hovering around 122, 123. And during that time, I'd worked with fitness coaches. It was like very much like, here's what to do. Like, here's your macros and, make sure to hit them. It was very prescriptive. And I knew whole foods were important, but I was told, oh, for my 5'0" self, I needed to eat 150 grams of protein a day, like just do it. And ultimately, like I ate protein bars and that made me constipated. So like it was just not what I needed and not customized for me. So I went through a lot of training. I told you my background's in molecular biology. I went through a lot of training on health, on science, of like understanding it. And I essentially learned all the tools I needed to be able to heal myself. And then now I can actually pay it forward and help people like you. So my story, my success story is that I've lost 27 pounds. I did it in 3 months. I was very focused. I was very just laser focused on what I wanted to do. I since then have really worked on more muscle strength and toning. And so I'm more in like this maintenance space, but I am working on growing muscle and getting stronger. But just saying that this was me. And so it is, of course, possible for you as well. Before I got to like the success story, if you will, I really struggled. And I think this was taken almost a year ago to the day. It was like early August. Um, it, even as recently as last year, I was on the beach. I was in a sweatshirt in August, like it's hot here, and I didn't feel like being in my bathing suit. Like I was missing out on these moments of playing with my kids. I was very self-conscious of what I looked like. No one else cared, but I cared, and I just didn't feel like I was very present. So I was missing out on these moments. My kids were in the water. They were like begging me, like, get in the water with me, mommy. Like we want to play. And I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I was like fully clothed, not willing to hang out with them. And this was pretty much like how I lived. And I don't know if you can resonate with this, if this sounds familiar. And if so, like feel free to be like, yeah, me in the chat. Like that was me. But whether you don't feel comfortable in your bathing suit, your clothes aren't fitting right, you just don't feel like yourself. Maybe it's mental. Maybe you have more anxiety than you did before, or really depressed or mood swings where you didn't have those things before. You feel like you are always behind. So it could be physical, like you just don't like, how things fit. It could be mental as well. And you could feel this struggle as well. But know that I see you because I have been there too. And so I really want to help you avoid the struggle. Maybe you are there right now, but let's get started on why you are experiencing this, kind of the science behind the stress, if you will, and then talking about what do we do about it. So, today's topic is, of course, about stress and weight loss and connecting those two. But stress could be the real reason behind why you can't lose weight. And I know that's true for me. And especially have, if you can't lose weight and you're doing all the right things, quote unquote. And then also if you especially have weight more around your midsection than anywhere else. But perhaps this is how, like, hopefully these are some of the words and I'm hitting it right. But perhaps you're eating clean, you're exercising, you're doing like everything right, and nothing is working to lose weight. You're moving your body, just the scale won't budge. You might feel bloated or puffy or just stuck, and especially in your belly area. And you feel like you're failing. You're doing all these things, you're working really hard, but you just can't figure it out. And you want more answers than, yeah, eat less and just exercise more, right? Like that's what it seems like a lot of people are saying to me. And like when you join this group, I asked, like, what are you struggling with? These are the words that I'm hearing. Yeah. And I saw in the chat, you're like, yes, to all the bullet points. So let's talk about why. Okay. Let's dive into the science a little bit. You probably heard of the word cortisol before. It is a hormone, and your body makes hormones. Cortisol is a good thing normally. Cortisol helps you wake up in the morning. It is the reason that you get out of bed in the morning. It's not because you have passion for life, it's actually your cortisol. And your cortisol is supposed to be highest in the morning and it's supposed to taper down and be lowest before bed so you can fall asleep and sleep deeply through the night. It's actually in inverse relationship. So it's the opposite relationship as melatonin. So you've probably heard of melatonin as well. That's another hormone. That's the hormone that should be lowest in the morning so you can wake up and highest in the evening so you can fall asleep. And so they are opposites of each other. Cortisol, however, it I think is a little bit of a scapegoat, but there's a really good reason for it because cortisol is very much linked to stress. And we, especially in America, we have developed the hustle culture, right? Like we are known for working and checking our emails, even when we're on vacation or in the evening, right before bed. And we're always going to try and, you know, hustle to the next best thing. We have all the side jobs, all the extra things, the sports activities in the evening. Your kid is on the travel team and you're always, on the go doing something. And so probably one of those hit home. And if not, it's something similar. And we are in this go, go, go mentality. And what that does is it releases extra cortisol. Okay, so just framing that background a little bit, we get a lot more stress, usually from our lifestyle. And typically, in a historical perspective, like thousands and thousands of years ago, cortisol was a good thing ultimately. Cortisol helped us stay alive, it helped us survive when the tiger was chasing you or when a bear, was trying to eat you, whatever. Or something was happening. Maybe you were a hunter and you were trying to get your prey so you could have dinner. You needed that adrenaline and you needed that stress to help you survive and to run away from the tiger or the bear or to run toward your prey animal and to, stay alive. So to find food, to get food, to stay alive and run away from predators. We aren't doing that anymore. Our food is typically found at the grocery store for us. It's a very safe way to get food. And so we have swung on the polar opposite. We now have an overabundance of food. It's really easy to get our calories, but our body has not evolved for that. We have not figured out in our like monkey brain, if you will, and in our hormones, which they just haven't caught up, that we have way too many calories and this stress is manufactured. It can come from traffic, it can come from our job, it can come from our kids yelling at us all the time and asking and demanding things and all the things that come up in our day. And the difference was when we ran from a tiger or a bear or whatever, that threat went away pretty immediately. We escaped, we survived, we moved on. But in today's world, our stress doesn't move on. We show up every day to work. We go home every day to our family, lovingly. Hopefully, that's the case. But the stress of the lifestyle that we have built does not go away. So it becomes chronic stress. And so I'm talking about this in today's world, in the modern world that we live in, where we experience chronic stress all the time and it's ongoing. So, framing that, I know that's a lot of words, but that's what happens to our bodies. So, when we have this chronic stress, it affects our blood sugar, it affects our insulin, and then that leads to storing more fat. So, when we have chronic stress over time, our body's taking in extra calories, possibly. Even if it's not taking in extra calories, it's signaling to store the fat, even if we aren't eating more calories. So we're just going to like hold on to everything. And that's where the belly fat comes in. It's going to especially store fat around your belly. When we have this cortisol raised up high for a long, long period of time, it can actually impact your thyroid as well. And so a lot of people come to me and they're like, do you work with people with Hashimoto's? Do you work with people with hypothyroidism? Yes, absolutely. Because stress is still going to like I guess acknowledging stress, I should say, is still going to impact beneficially your thyroid. And so that's what happens over time is your thyroid slows down and your metabolism slows down. The second thing is not only does our metabolism slow down, but our digestive system in general is going to slow down. So when we're in this fight or flight mode, Like, think about it. You're running from the tiger, you're running from the bear. You don't care if you're going to digest your meal or not. Like, it doesn't matter. Your food doesn't need to work on that part of the rest and digest, the parasympathetic nervous system. It's going to work on the sympathetic nervous system. That's your adrenaline. That's just going to move your muscles, make you, your pupils dilated so you can see better, make your heart beat faster so you can move easier. You just need to get out of there. So what happens is your intestines kind of slow down. Your stomach acid slows down. Things just slow down in digestive. And what happens is we retain more water. We feel bloated. It can lead to microbial imbalances in our gut. You can poop if you're not pooping 1 to 2 times a day and you're not having that elimination. Like that all gets slowed down. That's a sign of stress. Then it kind of works in a cycle is when you are eating things, the nutrients that you're taking up, they're not effective. They're just like passing through. Your intestines aren't actually absorbing them as appropriately as they should. And then the cycles, like we get this cycle. So we get more cravings for all the things that we probably don't need a lot of, which is more sugar, more salt, more carbs. Even if you feel like you're eating clean and doing all the things, you might be, I call it to my clients, I call them BLTs. You might be having the bites, the licks, and the tastes that you aren't thinking about. You're not necessarily counting in your, whether you are tracking in a log or you are tracking in your mental head. So that you're probably doing some overeating or snacking, or you're eating late at night, and that affects things. And when we are in a calorie deficit too long, so someone actually told me, I think it was in the last day, they were like, I'm in a calorie deficit, I'm working out, I'm doing all these things, I'm walking, I'm doing all these things. But if you've been in a calorie deficit too long and you are under stress, your body's like, they're starving. Like she's starving. We clearly need to hold on to fat. I need her to be more safe. I'm not going to let go of any fat, even though you're chronically under eating, because it perceives that as a threat. It perceives you as being impacting your survival in some form or fashion, which is super frustrating because like we feel like we're doing all the things, but our body's still not working for us. So I'll distill all those words down into some emojis for you. Stress, which is like that exclamation mark. Stress tells our brain that we want donuts. And then the cycle repeats, right? So like taking all the words, all the science, and distilling it down to something my 5-year-old would understand. He'd be like, yes, I love donuts. Let me check the chat here. Yeah, the sugar cravings. Sugar cravings are real. All right. I will dive into science. This is the only like super scientific slide that I have, and I try to make it really obvious, like put the X in there. What I want you to take away is that cortisol is connected to a lot of other things in your body. And so usually it's not just high stress. Usually your hormones are impacted as well. That could include your thyroid hormones. That could include your sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And all of these together really affect weight loss, like really affect it. So let's look at where cortisol is. Cortisol is here. It's a hormone. Other hormones in your body, progesterone is a really important hormone. Most women have less progesterone than they should, even at the correct points in their cycle. So it's usually after the luteal phase, like progesterone gets high and then goes down. Here's testosterone in here and estradiol. So estrogen, think of estrogen. Estrogen, we typically see females who are stressed typically have higher estrogen than normal, or they might have low estrogen, but high in relation to progesterone. So they have estrogen dominance ultimately. Sometimes I see that women are imbalanced in testosterone as well. Either they have too much or too little. Those are all related. Now, what I want to point out to you is there's what's called a mother hormone. It's called pregnenolone. And in our body, it can be transferred, or I guess converted is a better word, converted into progesterone, or it can be converted into testosterone, or it can be converted into uh, estrogen. This actually comes from cholesterol. So cholesterol in small, the right doses is good. Cholesterol is good. And those come from fats. Fats are good for your body. They actually help you regulate your hormones. You just don't want too many or too little. However, in a normal pathway, this would all be made. But when we are stressed, what happens is cortisol steals it all. cortisol is going to be preferentially made in our body instead of every other hormone that we need to like survive long term because we need to survive short term is what our body is thinking. Chronic stress is still going to show higher levels of cortisol. It's just going to actually affect your levels of what's called DHEA as well. And so I can look at different lab results. Like this is one of the things I do. I look at lab results for these women and it tells you these different proportions and it can tell you at what stage you are chronically stressed. I won't get into that today. There's everything from like the early stress stage, like acute stress. There's the more chronic stress. There's like even adrenal fatigue can be on this chart. But ultimately, if you're stressed, your hormones are out of whack. That's your takeaway here without going too much into depth. I'm going to stop for a second because I'm going to give you a bonus. I'm going to stop presenting and I'm going to throw a bonus in here and break it up for a second. And need to move this and share it. So I'm going to share you the link. And if you're watching the replay, you'll get the link later. But I want to share this part with you in particular because this is a big takeaway. So when you are stressed, all your hormones are out of whack, your thyroid's out of whack, everything's, not ideal. A big takeaway for you is that if you eat well and you eat the right amount of vegetables and protein and healthy fats, I mentioned fats are really key for making hormones. It's really helpful to have those in your diet. Okay. You probably knew that already, but here's a cheat sheet. So when you go to the grocery store next time, this is something that you can actually use. Like here's a list to help you shop more efficiently and get the right types of food. Excuse me. So figure I'd throw you a bonus right there. Let's chat about what people are probably telling you, or maybe you've read it online, or honestly, if you've done a GLP-1 and you're tried Ozempic or you tried any of the others, essentially what you do is you eat in a calorie deficit and eat less makes sense in theory. If, your body should be burning roughly 2,000 calories and you eat 1,500 calories, then in theory, you should burn fat and it should help you lose weight. The move more makes sense too, right? If you exercise more, you burn more calories, you're going to lose weight because you're in a calorie deficit. But this backfires when you're under stress. It just doesn't work. And so I know some of my clients, they have gotten into like we start in a calorie deficit. That's usually where I start people. And we move and, we put things in place and all of a sudden they plateaued. They're not losing any more weight. And they're like, why? You're like, why am I paying you? Like, this isn't working. And so this is where we switch. Like we don't always do a calorie deficit. It might work for a short time, but it might not work long term. So here's why. This actually sends a signal to your body that you are stressed. If you're doing cardio 5, 6, 7 days a week and you're running a lot, you're telling your body you're running away from the bear, kind of. And your body's stressed. If you're in a calorie deficit, your body thinks you're in famine. You're not getting enough food. Oh, wow, they have been in a famine for 2 years. I need to help them hold on to fat. And so your body is helping you survive, but you're also going to hold on to weight. So here's a little bit more of that breakdown. When you are in a calorie restriction for too long, this is a long term, like a short term calorie restriction does make sense, but over time, your body actually increases your cortisol. So your stress goes up and it's trying to protect you. This is going to make your muscles break down. It's going to totally wreck your metabolism. Your metabolism is going to bottom out and your fat retention is going to like increase. You're going to hold on to fat, especially in your belly, for longer. And you're probably going to like feel bloated or feel more puffy, even if you like change the weight on the scale. And when you are exercising too much and you're not recovering enough, that's going to send your body into, again, that fight or flight state. It's also going to, like, we can get into the science, the ghrelin and leptin, like, those are the hunger hormones that tell you I'm hungry. But say you go run miles, whatever, props to all the runners out there. I am not one of them. But if you overtrain and don't give yourself enough rest, then you're going to just trigger the hunger levels. You're going to be hungrier. And of course, you're going to give in because you can't, like, that only holds up so long. You have to actually fuel your body. And lastly, the big takeaway here is your body really needs to feel safe. It can't be panicked. You need to move in a way that supports your energy. The answer is strength training and or walking. Like if you are starting from nothing, if you are not doing any movement right now, you need to be walking even 10 minutes. Like go walk for 10 minutes a day. That is better than nothing. But once you've gotten a good walking routine down, you've gotten a little bit of exercise routine down, strength training is the next step in addition to regulating your stress, right? Like that's the other part of it. I'm not saying anything bad about cardio. It's just not the only thing you should be doing. And when I say cardio, I'm talking about the elliptical for an hour or going running as your only form of exercise or the Stairmaster, like just endless long cardio by itself, sitting on a Peloton, and that's your only form of workout. That alone is not enough. It needs to be in combination with strength training. Speaking of burnout triggers and stress overall, let me send this other one to you. This is a good way to like become more aware. Whoops, chat. To become more aware of what is actually triggering you and making you more stressed. You don't have to use the word burnout. I typically see people use the word stress, but some people are totally burned out. I want you to read through this and actually see if any of it resonates. You might be burned out in ways you don't realize, and that can be affecting your stress. So awareness, number one, really, really key. So go through that, and then it has action items at the end that you can actually like, oh, here are some ways that I can kind of regulate my burnout, my stress. And if you wanted to kind of zoom ahead to like, what do I actually do? And this is a big takeaway. This would be a good time if you want to take a screenshot or maybe look at the slides later. This would be the slide I would really recommend you take and synthesize and put into action. So I'll talk through each of these, but these are really, really key in order to manage the stress and support weight loss, right? So doing all the things would include this. First is you have to eat balanced meals and you have to eat them regularly. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, not skipping meals. What that leads to is if you say you skip breakfast and you do a fasted workout and then you're on the go and you're drinking coffee, your blood sugar is actually going to spike. And then when you eat food, lunch, whatever, maybe you do it. Sorry about that. My husband just turned on his headphones and it like connected to my computer. Sorry for that. What I was saying is don't skip meals because that will really impact how you store fat. So when you skip meals, you think you're eating less calories, but when you actually go to eat the meal, what happens is you're going to store everything. So regulate your blood sugar, eat actual meals like breakfast, lunch, and dinner throughout the day and make them balanced. You need to have protein, you need to have fats, you need to have veggies, and you need to have good carbs. Carbs are not the enemy. We do like carbs here. It's good for sustainable weight loss, but you need the right portions and the right amounts, and generally more whole foods rather than processed foods. Number two, walk daily and especially after meals. I would put that in for everybody unless, you had a physical disability where you can't walk. Everyone should be walking. Old people should be walking. Young people should be walking. Everybody should be walking as long as you're physically able to walk. So I would recommend going for a 10-minute walk after lunch, 10-minute walk after dinner. It's actually a really good family activity, especially in these long days of summer. Like take the kids out for a walk, let them burn off their energy and get that walk in. Number three, try to do very intentional nervous system resets. Now, everyone will do a different one, but deep breathing is something that everyone can do. Like breathe in for 4 or 6 seconds, then breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Those are very key things to do. There's lots of different breath work. You can go look on YouTube for, lots of ideas there. But breathing is key because we tend to hold it right here and all of our energy is stored in our shoulders and we get really tense. And deep breathing helps us regulate. Another thing you could do, cold plunging is something that has become very popular recently, but that helps your nervous system reset because you are literally putting your whole body into cold water, which helps you breathe and regulate stress too. Now, you don't have to necessarily go get a cold plunge, but like splashing your face with cold water kind of does the same thing. Number four, lift weights at some point throughout the week. Again, I would put this after. Like if you're starting with nothing, start with the walking, but the goal is to add in strength training at least 2 to 3 times a week, no more than 5 times a week for all you overachievers. And cardio is meant to supplement it, not to be the only way you work out. So, for example, you might warm up with, yeah, I don't know, some jumping jacks or, running in place or something. You might do some cycling or treadmill or, walking with a weighted vest, like whatever. You can do that, but it's not the only thing you do. You want to build up your muscle because then you will literally burn fat while you sleep, which is cool because it's working. You have to have muscle to burn fat. Your body will actually preferentially break down muscle before it will release fat because of survival. Like that's just how it works. So if you aren't building up your muscle by doing strength training, you are actually losing muscle. So we want to definitely do that strength training in there and running cardio, like that's not going to build it up. The last one is something that you probably will like, oh, poo-poo, like, oh yeah, I'll do that when I get to it. But it's actually like so, so key. Sleep is important. Sleeping at least 7 up to 9 more hours if you want. Sleeping 7 to 9 hours is really, really key. And then also prioritizing like a evening routine that helps you wind down, takes away the screens, puts the lights down low, do the face, clean your face or floss your teeth. Like those things are really key to help your body prepare for deep sleep. Deep sleep is actually a time where you burn fat, but it's where your body rests and recovers and feels safe. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're not feeling safe. If you're not feeling safe, you're not losing weight. So, some very good information there. Let me open up the chat. Biggest struggle is to get 7 hours of sleep. Absolutely. Um, yeah, I know it's a struggle. We overfill and we overpack our schedule. We have a lot going on, whether it's activities or we have more work or it's, like when do we find time to clean the house or when do we find time for peace and quiet? But I really want you to prioritize it. I know it's hard, but it's really important to prioritize. So let's kind of recap. Um, Kind of coming to a close here. I told you it was going to be a little longer than I thought, but still not an hour, still not anywhere close to an hour. So you showed up today because you've tried all of these things, right? You're feeling exhausted, bloated, you're stuck, and you know something needs to change. You've tried diets, you've tried workouts, you've tried whatever, like putting the cinnamon or the butter in your coffee, all those trends that come, but nothing is working long term, and you want it to work. You want to take control of your health and you want to feel more energy and you want to stop thinking about losing weight so you can actually focus on what truly matters. And now you are walking away with more knowledge. And I've given you, those very specific things to help you get started, but you still might not know exactly what to do, right? Like, how much should I eat? How much should I work out? What kind of weight should I be using? How many reps should I do? Like, do you have any other ideas for stress relief? And the answer is, of course I do. And I'm trying not to overwhelm you with so much information today that you just get stuck in analysis paralysis, because that's not the goal. I want you to have, a couple really key things that you could implement today, right now. Those bonuses, those are like meant to be lists that you can do right now and go to the grocery store and get those things. But if you want a little bit more, I can give you those exact steps. Like that is what I do. You don't have to try and figure it out for yourself. Like I can help you with that. And so ultimately you have a choice. One of these paths leads to trying to figure it out on your own, right? Like that is absolutely one way to do it. And the other path is asking for help and kind of going for the more linear, like the more direct way to see results. And if that is something that's helpful for you, of course I can help you do this. Let me talk a little bit about how. So I'm going to pop in all the links from today. It's going to include all the bonus links. It's going to include the links to the slides. It's going to include all the links. Go back here. Okay. It's also going to include a link to my calendar. There's something called a strategy session. It's free. It blocks out 60 minutes, but the calls are usually, I would say, usually about 45 minutes, sometimes a little shorter. And I have opened up my time slot. I have 4 days available that you could like go ahead and book now. What this call is about is talking about what your goals are. Like, how do we create balance for you? What does success look like? And honestly, I go there, I ask the tough questions, like, why does this matter? Like, why? What is the actual reason that this matters? We talk about like what's getting in the way, whether it's work, kids, family, like all the things that could derail your success, and talk about self-sabotage. Like, we talk through it all. And during this call, if it makes sense, I'll chat about like, hey, this is what my program entails. Hey, this is what, we can talk through every different aspect there and make sure it's a good fit. So if this sounds helpful, like go into that link I just sent, schedule your call. It'll be worth your time. At the very least, you'll get clarity. At the most, you're like, hey, I will totally transform my life, which is also really amazing. So I'm going to hold space for Q&A. I will record the Q&A. So if you have a question that you don't want recorded, I would encourage you to wait till I stop recording. But I saw a couple questions already pop up in the chat. And so I will stay on to do a Q&A. But if you feel like you got everything you needed out of today, you're welcome to head out. But if you have questions, feel free to hang out with me and ask. Yeah, so I see something about no snacks, fruit. Maybe that's a struggle. Like maybe you are eating fruit, but I didn't see the question there. Um, what are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? So I did see that question. Generally, intermittent fasting can be good, but not good for stressed out people. So people that are, if you were resonating with anything in this, you're like, yep, I'm stressed out. I'm not getting enough sleep. I can't lose weight, all of these things. I would not recommend intermittent fasting longer than maybe like 12, 13 hours. So that's an overnight fast. That's a regular fast. An intermittent fast is typically like 16 hours, is what I typically see as like an 8 hour window of eating and a 16-hour window of fasting. And I do not recommend a longer fast like that. Related to that, I generally don't recommend fasted workouts. Uh, unless you're working out first thing in the morning. Because like I work out usually, like I do a workout on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:45, and I don't want to eat at 5:45. I'm not ready for eating. And so ultimately, if it's first thing in the morning, I think that's fine because it's like you just fuel up afterwards. But if your workouts are later in the day, I would not do a fasted workout. Yeah, so the question is, I'm doing a lot that you've already listed, but I'm not seeing a difference. Do you recommend any of the cortisol drinks to help you lower your cortisol? I'll be super honest, I've never actually heard of a cortisol drink. Maybe that's like maybe something I should have heard about, but I've never actually heard of it. Um, Ultimately, it's possible. There is a supplement that I have that has a lot of adaptogens in it, and so that might be the ingredients in there. And it's called Adrenal Soothe, and that what that does is it essentially calms anxiety, which in turn calms like that feeling of like busyness in your head, which then calms cortisol kind of at a um yeah, as a result. And so it depends what the ingredient is in the cortisol drink. I don't, yeah, you should tell me about it. Teach me something new. I don't know about those, to be honest. Um, I think they can help. Adaptogens absolutely can help. So that would be like ashwagandha or L-theanine. Those are some pretty popular ones. GABA is another good one. Rhodiola. There's more, but I'm blanking on it at the moment. But adaptogens can absolutely help with managing anxiety and stress. Other foods can too, actually. So depending on the ingredients. Oh, you're welcome, Carol. Glad you liked it. Yeah, yeah, I'll send you the one that keeps popping up. Yeah, as soon as you click on it, they're gonna like target you forever. But send it to me. I'd be happy to look at it. All right. Are snacks okay or just focusing on your 3 meals during the day? I eat fruit in between. It depends. Ultimately, it depends on your total calories that you're eating, depends on your macros breakdown, depends on your exercise throughout the day. Generally, fruit, my stance is generally fruit and whole foods. Like that's a very good thing to include. And fruit is a good snack. I would say definitely better than like, chips or something like that. I would say veggies are probably a better snack in between. Veggies paired with protein. So think like a beef stick is a really good quick snack. I would say like celery paired with like a healthy fat, like almond butter or peanut butter, like a clean peanut butter would be a good one, or veggies and hummus, something like that would be my preference. But fruit, like it depends on your whole intake of fruit during the day. Like too much fruit is still sugar, like it's still going to convert to too much carbohydrates. And so having those in the right portions is really key. Cool. Looks like I've answered all the questions. I'll hang out for another minute and see if any other questions pop up. I will go ahead to one more slide though. So just reminding you, wrapping it up, um, I've got some time slots open. Feel free to book a call with me. It is free, so I do want to talk to you. I'd love to chat about the program, see if this is a good fit for you. I'm going to go ahead and pause this now, but if any other questions come up, I'll stay on.